Good morning, 5th grade students. This is Mr. Mace here, and I am going to walk you through Unit 4, Lesson 8, multiplying with decimals, and in this case, decimal numbers greater than 1, but that really isn't important. It is simply multiplying numbers with decimal points. All right, this is probably going to be broken up into two separate parts, so there will be two videos. Please make sure you watch both videos. There will be two different kinds of problems that we are talking about, or two main themes that we're going to try to break apart into the two separate videos. This lesson should be very much a review for you guys. You have talked about these concepts already with your homeroom teacher, hopefully, or you've watched the videos previously from Mrs. Grosland as she created this whole concept. We're just kind of building on that same idea, and in this one it is really the first video here just practicing the same skill that we've been doing. Now I'm not going to go through every one of these problems, guys. I'm simply going to go through a handful of them, but I would suggest if this is a skill that you are not extremely confident with, that you do work on more problems than just the ones I go through in the video. Okay, the video I'm trying to limit to about 15 minutes, so if I were going to do that on this page, guys, that would take me about an hour. So the biggest thing I want to point out and stress here, guys, is please use the tools that we as teachers allow you to use. Don't use a calculator. That doesn't teach you anything. So that should go without saying that you should not be using a calculator on these problems. But you can use a multiplication chart. And that just helps you with the basic facts and helps this process go a little quicker. So please, if you have a multiplication chart readily available, take it out and use it. If you don't have one right in front of you, I know there are some in your planners. Pause the video right now, go grab your planner, and get your multiplication chart out to make these problems a little easier. All right? Now, the biggest thing I want to stress in this lesson, or at least this first video of this lesson, guys, is what I tell my students every year is when we start multiplying by decimals, we kind of want to ignore the decimal point until we get to the answer. And I know that seems hard to do, but in all honesty, that is what we are really requiring here. The decimal point doesn't change the number until we get to the answer. So as I look at problem number 1 here, guys, I see 2.6 times 0.7. But in all honesty, what that problem is 26 times 7. And that's a 2-digit times 1-digit problem, which is very straightforward. Okay, so I should solve this as 26 times 7. And maybe I don't know what 6 times 7 is, and that's where that multiplication chart really comes in handy, guys, to help us find those facts a little quicker. But I do know 7 times 6 is 42, so I'm going to put the 2 down and carry the 4. Then I'm going to regroup the 4, however you want to phrase that. And then I'm going to do 7 times 2, which is 14, plus the 4 that I carried, gets me to 18. So my answer at this point is 182. Now, obviously, that is not the end result because we do, if we look back to the original problem, have decimal numbers. We do have decimal point place values. So here is where the decimal now starts to impact our answer. All right, now once I do the math, I look back to my original problem, or I look back to the problem as a whole, and I figure out how many numbers are behind the decimal point in this problem, or how many decimal point place values are in the problem. And that's going to match up with the number of decimal point place values in my answer. So as I look at problem number 1, there's a decimal in both of my numbers, so I have to look at both numbers. The 6 is behind the decimal point, and the 7. So in this case, I have 2 decimal point place values in my problem, so I need 2 of them in my answer. So to do that, 2 will be behind the decimal point, 8 will be behind the decimal point, and my answer will go, or my decimal point will go into my answer in front of the 8. So instead of it being 182 for my answer will be 1.82. So the math itself doesn't change, guys. It's just a matter of adding that extra step of placing that decimal point after I'm done with the math. All right, so let's take a look at problem number 2. Very similar, only we've added a place value to the top number. So instead of this becoming 8.23 times 0.6, it is 823 times 6. And again, this is just a straightforward 3-digit times 1-digit. Okay, that should not be hard for us. Maybe we make a mistake or a silly mistake on our multiplication facts, which is why we use our multiplication charts. But 6 times 3 is 18. Put the 8 down, regroup the 1 to the next place value. 6 times 2 is 12, plus the 1 that I'm adding from the other place value is 13. Carry the another 1, regroup that other 1. And now 8 times 6, which is a little harder math fact, which is why we might use that multiplication chart. 6 times 8 is 48, plus the 1 that I'm carrying is 49. So when I'm done with the math, I end up with 4,938. Now I go back to my problem, because it is decimal points, and I figure out how many numbers in my problem are behind the decimal point. So in this case, I'm looking at the 2 and the 3 are both behind the decimal point. That's 2 spots, and the 6. So in this case, I need 3 numbers behind the decimal point in my answer. We always start at the right here, guys. So I'll draw the decimal point in to start with here to show where I start counting. And I start moving it 3 spots. 1, 2, and 3. So again, my answer for problem number 2 goes from 4,938 to 4.938, or 4 and 938 thousandths. All right. So I'm going to skip problem number 3 only because it is very similar to what we just experienced with problems 1 and 2. And I'm going to jump ahead to problem number 4, guys. And the difference with problem number 4 is that it is no longer a 1-digit multiplication problem. Now I'm looking at a 2-digit by 2-digit. And we know throughout the course of the last handful of lessons that there are different ways to solve those problems. So for problem number 1, or for problem number 4, excuse me, the first one of that kind, I'm going to show you the window method and just reiterate and refresh how to answer those problems. All right, so this basically becomes 87 times 53. If I get rid of the decimal points before I multiply, and now I'm going to take that and I'm going to add it to my window, or my box method. I've heard it called multiple things by multiple teachers. I've always called it the window method because to me it looks like a window. All right, and then I'm going to break those apart by place values. Now I don't really care, again, about the decimal point until the end. So that 8 in 8.7 is actually an 80 if I'm going to figure it in math terms or in multiplication terms. Okay, and then I've got a 7 for my back place value. The second number, I've got a 50 and I've got a 3. So I'm separating my numbers by the place value and the value. It's not just an 8, it is an 80. It's not just a 5, it is a 50. And then I need to multiply the two numbers that are touching that box, okay, or the two numbers that are in line with that box. So as I look at 80 and 50, 8 times 5 is 40, and there are 2 zeros in that problem, so I add 2 extra zeros onto the back of my number. So 80 times 50 is 4,000. Then I come over here, and technically this is still a 50 across here, so the two numbers touching that box are 50 and 7. So 5 times 7 is 35, and in this case I've got 1 0 to put on the back of my number. And then I look down here, and this is again technically an 80, following that column all the way down. So this problem becomes 80 times 3. 8 times 3 is 24 with 1 0 added on. And this last one here, again, I want to make sure I continue this column straight on. So this one should be a 7, and this one should be a 3. So 7 times 3 with no zeros added to it is 21. Now I take those 4 partial products and I add them all together. So again, whether I want to stack them up and physically write them out, or if I feel like, I preferably would do it this way, but if I feel like I can maybe do that in my head, I am fine with you guys rearranging or adding that however you feel like it. But I'm going to show you how I would do it. 9, 11, regroup one more. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus one more is 6. So my original answer should be 4,611. Okay, and I'm going to put that back up here, 4,611. But again, now I go back just like I did on the previous problems, and I count how many numbers are behind the decimal point. So on the top problem, or the top number in the problem, I've got one number. Number 7 is behind the decimal point. And in the bottom one, I've actually got 2. The 5 and the 3 are both behind the decimal point. So again, I've got 3 decimal point place values in my problem that needs to match in my answer. So I need 3 in my answer. So the 1 here is behind it, this 1 is behind it, and the 6 behind it. So I go from 4,611 to 4.611, or 4 and 611 thousandths. All right. And one last problem here before I set you loose to do some problems on your own and trying to practice some of those things. So I'm going to do problem number 5. And instead of using the window method, I'm going to go with that traditional algorithm. Okay, I'm going to go with that original problem, 47 times 63. And I'm not going to worry about the decimal point. Again, guys, this is the beauty of multiplying. It's the same exact process as if we didn't have any decimals as when we do. The only change is that extra step in counting the decimal point place values at the end. So 47 times 63 by using the standard algorithm method. 7 times 3 is 21. I regroup, put the 2 on top. 4 times 3 is 12, plus the 2 I put on top is 14. Now I'm done with the 3, so for me personally, guys, I cross out the 3 so that I realize that I need a 0 placeholder down below here. I also get rid of my 2. Now I go 6 times 7, and I multiply each of the numbers on top by the 6 on the bottom. So 6 times 7 is 42. I regroup the 4. 6 times 4 is 24, plus the 4 I carried is 28. So I then add those two partial products together, and I end up with an answer of 2,961. But again, because this is a decimal problem, I go back to my original problem, and I look at it and say, how many numbers in my problem are behind the decimal point? Well, the 7 is, so that's 1, and so is the 3. Those two numbers are both behind a decimal point, so that means I need 2 in my answer. The numbers of decimal point place values in your problem needs to match with the number of decimal point place values in your answer. So starting again with the decimal point at the back here, 1, 2 spots forward, this answer becomes 29.61. All right, so those are 4 practice problems, guys, that I really hope you have taken the time to work on or follow along and maybe work on your math expressions book or work on a separate sheet of paper, either way. But what I would like you to do right now, I'm going to give you a little bit of an assignment before you start that next video. I would like you to practice questions 6, 7, and 8, so those 3 problems, all right, to check to see if you know how that process works. And the reason I chose those 3 is there are 3 different kinds of problems here. The first 2 are both 2-digit times 2-digit. The last one, number 8, is a 3-digit times a 1-digit. But there's also a different amount of decimal point place values in each of those problems. So I really want you to test yourself, answer problems 6, 7, and 8. And at the beginning of the next video, I will start off our lesson with those questions. All right, so stop the video now, or the video is going to end now. Answer those 3 questions and get those answers in video 2.